Bada bing. Welcome everyone. Maté talk time. Super excited, of course. I've got a number of beautiful fragrances, all new releases, all came out this year. Some actually just came out during Cannes. So this is my recent Cannes trip. Had a chance to really connect with a number of brands. Also during the Italy tour that we did, we also had a chance to connect with some of the brands there. And so these are fragrances that are just out. You may, and actually, if anybody has experienced these, I'd love to get your thoughts, because one current theme that's running through all of these is don't look at the notes. The notes will throw you off course. Each one of these is really experience them, see what they do for you. I was reading also some of Fragrantica. It's still intense in there. I disagree with just about everything that's being shared in there. So I'm going to give you my take on these particular fragrances. And then if anyone else has experienced them, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Now, at the end of this episode, I will be doing, so the three announcements that I have. One is on all things olfactive traveler and the US. This is an ongoing Rubik's Cube that we are attempting to solve. So I'll give you an update on that. The rest of the world, when it comes to everything to do with olfactive traveler, I'll give you guys an update also, and the orders that are loaded, they're locked and loaded, or where we at with that. And then the last part is, during the live, we did a spin, we were gonna spin the wheel. I'll tell you more. We're spinning the wheel at the end of this for those people who jumped in and put their name against it. You will win some, somebody's going to be a winner. I'm getting a lot of texts, but we will move on. Here we go. So the first one that I want to talk about is a gritty fragrance, Muscaria. I think I'm saying that right. Muscaria. Maybe one of those two. This is so if you love musk fragrances, this is just go out and test this thing out. Like I said at the beginning, do not look at the notes, because the notes will deceive you when it comes to what this fragrance does with its performance. This is a hypersexual musk. That's the only way I can define it, because it really is it's very sassy. So yes, it says it has an ambrette and yada yada, but this is really, I feel like the sexuality on this thing has been turned up to 11. It does make me think of Sado Naso, with that very deep, sexually oozing, dripping musk that fragrance has. It does make me think of the Rihanna song where the lyrics are sex in the air, I don't care, I love the smell of it. So it's that kind of intensity to it. Now, I first discovered this in Exxon. So we had an Exxon's tour in February this year. We were privileged, the people that were on the tour, there were 20 of us there, were privileged to smell this for the very first time. Luca GRITTI had it with him, and he shared it. So but it wasn't available for sale. We did the Italy tour in September just recently, and we had an experience in the boutique in Rome. And this was one that both Kevin and I, we really, just, we shared, we both selected fragrances within the boutique that we both wanted for the channels. And we both agreed that Muscaria is awesome. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a pro tip at the end of this with this particular fragrance. So when I experienced it in Exxon's, I sprayed it on, and it was glorious. In cool weather, it's fantastic. Really, very musky, blends in with me. I definitely recommend you put it on skin as opposed to put it on clothing. It has a very deep sass to it, so there is a sassiness in there. Now, there are two particular notes that really, and when I look at all the different notes, two particular notes that really come forward for me that in verifying, yes, they are actually in the construct. One is vanilla and the other one is a rose. Now, I only get that vanilla rose much deeper in. On opening, I do get quite a bit of that musk, and as I said, quite a bit of that sass, almost to the point where it's not offensive, but it definitely has, it makes you sort of like, whoa, what did you just spray? It's the fragrance that you do not smell up close. It's definitely something, just allow it to be present in the air. As it dries in deeper, as it goes deeper down, I am getting a lot more of that vanilla blended in with that very animalic, sassy musk, and also that rose. There is a rose note there that is very, just a very gentle floral note that's coming through. Now I'm wearing it as my fragrance of the day. Let me just, and it's Sass 101. The musk is very, it's very musky, very sensual. Now, one of the, last thing, strong presence. As I mentioned, I was wearing it in Aix-en in February. It was very cold. It was projecting through my clothing beautifully. I wore it again in Rome, September now. Beautiful weather we were having in Rome, to the point where just in t-shirt. And again, beautiful fragrance to walk around in. It took me all the way through the evening. Just I could smell muscaria all around me. The clincher for me, and here's your pro tip, if you want to soften it down a bit, if you want to sort of temper it, that sassy musk, because at the end of the day, if you want a fragrance that you want someone to draw close to you, as I said, it's great for that sort of, if you're courting, if you're at a bar and you want to sort of, you know, that like a deer musk, you know, just let everybody know that that you're looking for a partner, then muscaria is fantastic. But once you know, have someone who wants to draw close to you, you want to sort of soften it down a little bit, then I would recommend that vanilla tanna is your companion. I created a marriage, and I mentioned this last time around, where I actually sprayed, boom, I sprayed muscaria again on my skin, on my solar plex, and tanna, vanilla tanna was on my stomach. And the two of these, the vanilla here is gorgeous. And I mentioned this on the previous Maté talk. The vanilla tanna is very pulpy and deep and rich and very vanilla, but very decadent and floral-like. So these two together as a marriage, not layering, just one here, bada bing, baby. This is gorgeous. So something I would recommend. I'd love to hear if anyone else has experienced muscaria. What are your feelings on that? If you want something super seductive and intense, those two as a combination, bada bing, that's where you're at. All right, the next thing I have is, not that I chose this on purpose, but there is definitely a musky, and I think it's these releases that have come out have a very deep, musky, almost sexual overdrive tone to them, because I mean, I just grabbed these fragrances, I've been wearing them and really enjoying them, and as I lined them up and as I started to break through, I'm like, there is a theme running through this, and it's very animalic, sort of musk, very dripping with that sexuality that's running through them. The next one is Matador, and this is Ramon Monegal. Ramon is he is like an institution within Spain. He's been highly revered when it comes to his work that he does. Unfortunately for us Aussies, we don't have Monegal here in Australia. So I've been in contact with the team. I was able to catch up. Here's myself with the son, Oscar, and also Ramon, having a chance to really expand on the brand. It's something that I'm super excited about. So there's going to be more coming down the line when it comes to all things Monegal, so look out for this. But here's a brand that is, as I said, it's been strong within Spain. It has a strong presence within Europe. We don't have it in Australia, but you know, for the rest of the world, you guys can already jump in on this. This is the latest release called Matador. There is a little bit of controversy around this because obviously it's linked to bullfighting, yada yada. So I'm not going to just push that aside. Matador, the name itself is basically yes, a killer. Un matador is a person who kills. But in here, what Oscar, the son, was telling me is what Ramon is really aligning itself to is the confidence, the self-assured nature of this individual, the stepping forward even in the moment of danger and still being, you know, very masculine and very strong and looking danger in the eyes. And the idea is that Matador is really, okay, putting it into today's terms, a slayer. You know, so he's a man who is super confident within himself, able to, you know, regardless of the situation, is able to speak with anyone and everyone around them with a sense of confidence and an air of, you know, just suave, you know, James Bond style. It's interesting when you think of that style of fragrance, your brain, you would think that it would go to like a fougere or something, you know, with aromatics and woods and all that sort of stuff. When I first discovered this fragrance, I was so happy to know that that is not the direction that Ramon took the fragrance. In fact, it's in the direction that I've always been banging on about, and that is a beautiful floral on a man is something quite unique. The difference here that it's not overtly floral, so it doesn't go deep into these, so in the heart there is jasmine, magnolia, and rose, so it doesn't go deep into those, you know, headiness of the florals and make it almost feminine-like. In fact, it still uses the woody aspects that I guess a man likes in a fragrance, but accentuates it with these particular florals. Matador is gorgeous. It's not your classic sort of, so when a man thinks, oh, I want a good fragrance to go out to a meeting with, or, you know, go out to a function or something, you know, suiting up, and when you want to feel confident, normally your brain goes to like a green Irish tweed or you know, a Ventus or something of that nature, something with aromatics and woods. Whereas here, it's going against type. I think I just said that, so I just said the same thing but in a different way. Let me just tell you what the fragrance is like. I was wearing it the other day. Kevin and I had a number of meetings, and it's all to do with the US. I'll tell you more in a second. So we were out, and Kevin said, I like your fragrance. Is it oud, I forget the names. I don't have this fragrance. Oud Maracuja. And I thought, interesting that he thought that, because Matador does not have oud in it. It does have a passion fruit note, which at first I thought was a little bit on the raspberry side, but it is a passion fruit that's been tempered, so you're getting the sweet, the pulpiness of it, the sweet nature of the passion fruit. But in fact, it has a rosewood on that opening, and then in the base it has musk and it has sandalwood. But it's interesting, it does have a much more robust woody nature to the actual fragrance. When it first opens, it does have those fruit notes sort of come forward a bit more. I find that the florals step forward. I sprayed it earlier. I asked Grace what was she detecting. She mentioned that there was like a white floral soapiness in the scent profile, so not. Excuse me, I'm hungry. It's over midday and I should be eating, but Maté talk is priority. The white floral, so it's not indolic, but it does have I guess the clean, the sunshine of the white floral with a tinge of that rose. And I think the bottle does give you that indication that rose is a particular profile of this fragrance. It does have rosewood on that opening, and I think all these elements here giving it that dense woody nature to the fragrance. When it does dry down, it does go into that musk, and again I go back to that animalic nature, not as heavy as Muscaria, which is very dripping with sexuality. Here the musk is a little bit more it's tempered, but it is definitely, it's not an ambrette or a light musk. There is a heaviness to this particular musk. And I think that what I mean by that is it has there's a terminology in Spanish, soy macho, which soy, you know, I'm a man, you know, I'm strong, es un hombre. And that's the sort of the scent profile to this, es un matador. Basically, I think that's what Ramon Monegal is going for. Awesome fragrance. Wearing it the other day, oh yeah, with Kevin, wearing it the other day, he could smell it comfortably. We were probably or in the car, so about a meter apart. Smell it, you know, the presence of it is quite comfortable. It has great longevity, 12 plus hours. I do get more out of it, so I wake up in the morning, I can smell the fragrance on me. So it's a great fragrance to use as an evening or going out. For me, all year round, I would say that I was wearing it in Cannes. The weather was sunny. It's probably just a little bit heavier for the day. So if you're getting in heavy sunshine today, the day's fantastic, wears really well, but it's still quite cool here in Australia. So I'm gonna say like going into fall, autumn, spring, as summer is a no, into winter, cooler weather, 100% would work magic. Boom. I'm gonna stop, I'll be right back. And back. So the next one that I'd like to put forward to you guys is JOVOY. And this is the new release called Ha Long Bay. Super gorgeous. I'll tell you a little bit more in a sec. I do love, so I don't know if you noticed, this is a new bottle design. This is a 75 ml. If you remember, for those who are familiar, the 100 ml bottles, great value for money, but the bottle had to sit like this, and it was a little bit, it just, for us nerds, or for this nerd at least, I was loved to show off my bottle, and I just found that it was a bit hidden. In a way, I think also that bottle design was a bit of a hurdle that people had to jump over. We would do meetups at Oillataguerre, and people would ask me, what would you recommend? And I always point them to JOVOY and said, look, the brand is awesome, value for money when it comes to fragrance and performance, yada, yada, exceptional. And then they would all like, oh, the bottle. And so the bottle design was always well, yes, you buy it for the complete package, but anyway, bottom line is, I love the new bottle. I guess that's the core of what I'm trying to say. I do love the new sizing, and I do love the way this bottle now sits on shelf. So I think they've knocked it out of the park when it comes to this. The fragrance is an expression of mango, and I know that mango right now is a hot note in perfumery. The mango that I've experienced up until now is that very sweet, very succulent, very juicy-like. Whereas here, it's been really pared back. Francois Hennen, the owner of JOVOY, when he first got into the industry of perfumery, he was actually an extractor of oil. So he was based in Vietnam as a young man, and he basically cultivated or worked with organizations or companies there for patchouli and vetiver and things of that nature. So he has a deep connection, one, to Vietnam, and then two, to the extraction of those particular notes. And if you look at his collection, his fragrances, he does like to celebrate vetiver and patchouli and things like that. So here, this is a celebration of this is now his memory of the very Asian treat, which is green mango. I have a good friend, for those who might know, Kevin, who is a Vietnamese man, and like one time he gave me this very beautiful basket of fruit, and one of those elements in there is the green mango. It has a pared back mango taste, so it's crunchy, for those who are not familiar with it. It's crunchy. It's a very pared back in its flavor. It is very fragrant in its scent profile, but it also has the element of it being green because it's not ripened essentially. And I think even the mango is different. So normally here in Australia we have a Bowen mango, which is these big fat sort of round, whereas the green mangoes that Vietnamese, or that I've seen the Vietnamese grocers sell, they're sort of long and skinny. Again, I'm hungry. Can you hear that? I'm sorry. This is what he's celebrating here. So if you are, I've smelled a lot lately that very ripe, juicy mango in perfume. Whereas here, it's, as I said, it's more fragrant and it's really come back. The mango is still present, but it definitely does have that green, sort of Asian mango scent profile to it. It's a little bit, it's interesting too, it's a little bit, and even Kevin said this, it's a bit floral. There's no flowers in it. So it's in that scent profile or that constructed note of the green mango. I've got it here. Now, one thing about this fragrance, the evolution on this thing is, out of all the ones that I'm speaking about today, is the most complex. Where it begins, how it goes into its midpoint, and then where it dries down are really all separate points. You get some of the, obviously, it's natural that it's not going to start like a rose and then go to whatever. So you are getting elements of that in that journey, but they are three very, very clear, very distinct markers. So I'm deeper in now. I'm gonna do this because the last fragrance I'm gonna talk about is a monster with capital M, and it's dominating like crazy. So I'm gonna respray, because I sprayed the other one here. I'll tell you what that is. And it is just like, it's intense. This is divine, this is gorgeous. So as I mentioned, that very green mango, fragrant nature, if I could say florals, it would be, oh, okay, actually, so it has the fragrant nature also of the passion fruit. So it has, unlike Matador, where the passion fruit I couldn't quite sort of pinpoint, because it's kind of more pulpy as opposed to sort of acidy and acrid. Here it's a little bit more on that acid side and tropical, but really pared back. So if I look at something like Erba Gold, which I know doesn't have mango in it, but it's very juicy mango-ish, this here has really been pulled right back. On that opening, that green mango, the green elements, the fragrant nature of the mango is definitely coming through. As it moves through, and this is the part that I want to share also, it does go into like it has a spicy, peppery nature to it. I define this as wet tropics. And what made me think of is that sometimes when you are in a tropical area, anything wooden, so like a wooden cupboard, it has like a slightly wet, camphorous, wet wood style of scent. It does have also like a spiciness in there in the scent profile. And that's what I'm getting from it. So it goes to a spicy, wet tropics, and then it goes into woody, and then finally on its dry down, it's this beautiful spicy amber with almost like a patchouli touch to it. This is one where, yes, you can look at the notes and it's not too far removed from what you're experiencing, but these are like that top heart and base. You're definitely getting that transition through the fragrance. It does have an ambery wood dry down, so that the amber and the wood element with the patchouli touch and the spiciness. I was wearing this yesterday as my fragrance of choice. Stunning. I was in love with myself. As I kept moving around, because we had a shoot on late last night, so we finished at about 8 o'clock. And as I'm packing up the gear and I'm moving around, and the fragrance is coming forward. That fragrant green mango nature had now completely gone. I was now probably about 10 hours deep into the fragrance. And what I was getting instead is this ambery, woody, patchouli spiciness from the fragrance as a sensation. Gorgeous, a big recommendation. For me, this has been a great new release from these guys from JOVOY. And again, I go back, do love the new bottle design. I think they've done an exceptional job with that. Boom. All right, let me have a little drink. Next one is a brand that I am slowly peeling back on and really enjoying. This is Room 1015. We were privileged to be at the launch party of Electric Wood Extrait. Here's the visual. Kevin was unsuccessful. He was telling me that I was trying to get the prize, and he's like, step aside, let me show you how an Asian man does it. He was doing worse than I was, so I don't know. I don't know what that even meant. But he was convinced that he was better at it than I was. We were gifted this, which is a really nice gift on behalf of the brand. It is Electric Woods Extrait, as I mentioned. It was, so I sprayed it on the night, really enjoyed the atmosphere of it. So now it's warmer weather, it's kind of cool, warmer weather, but with a cool evening, and it worked perfect in that environment. The amber, as the fragrance sort of transitioned through the evening, the amber wood style fragrance, the deep nature of the woody nature, so the deep, my brain is like duck. I'm actually thinking of the tuna melt sandwich that I'm about to eat, and so, but I'll stay focused. The amber wood fragrance, so think of Clive Christian, the amber wood. It has a similar touch to that particular fragrance, with the difference that it does have a sweaty vibe to it. As a young man, I played the clarinet. Don't judge me. Actually, personally, I think the clarinet is a super cool instrument. So if I would dream about revisiting my clarinet days. Look, even here is Ferris Bueller. He was playing the clarinet. He's a cool guy. But one thing that I do remember about the clarinet is that the wooden reed and the actual wooden instrument that, unfortunately, this is part of it, spit goes into the clarinet. So you get that sort of musky sort of element from the sweat, we'll call it, mixed in with the wood scent. And this is what I get on its dry down. So as the fragrance moves through, and I think of electric wood, and I think what's it meant to represent, I figured that it's the guitar. The thing is with the guitar is that it is varnished, so it wouldn't absorb any sweat that I would think of, so it wouldn't actually take in, the wood wouldn't blend in with me as a scent profile, whereas the clarinet does take in an essence of me, essentially, or the human. So I do get, so it does have a musky sort of dry down, a little bit dirty, not as hyper-sexual as the Muscaria that I have on, but definitely has a sort of a more of an animalic kind of musk to it. This is another one where I think I wrote down, don't look at the notes. I find that the notes are distracting. On the opening, there is a nutmeg note. The nutmeg that is in my mind, or what I can sort of, what my brain remembers, is not the scent profile that I get here. In fact, when the fragrance opens up, I get a very sweet, vanilla-esque note. I'll go as far as saying, so on that first opening, I get this sweet, woody, but almost cognac. There's like a cognac sort of element to it. There is a slight leathery touch to it. I know that there is saffron in that opening too. I don't get the spiciness of the saffron as such, and nutmeg, but I don't get any of that at all. Then as it moves through, and when I say move through, in the next 5 minutes of the fragrance opening, I get like a salted caramel, very deep caramel resinous sort of element to it. Again, there's none of those notes are in the actual construct of the fragrance, but this is what I'm picking up from it. My stomach again. Excuse me. Dick duck 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 duck. Yep, caramel vibe. All right, so what it does have, so what I am sort of picking up, I do get a vanilla vibe. So as the fragrance dries down, I do get a touch of that vanilla. I do get a very sharp Ciprio sort of woody sort of nature, or that sharpness that Ciprio does have. I do get that, and I do get an oak moss. There is a slightly woody mossiness to it. And again, I go back, it's slightly dirty, slightly musky, slightly, a little bit on that human animalic component of it. Tuk tuk tuk. Yeah, the dry down, sweet musky, yep. And it does have great longevity. I find that for me, I get 12 plus hours without a problem. Now, I don't have electric wood, the normal one. What I have heard, so how does it compare? I don't know. I have heard that they are very separate fragrances. But this one here is a great for Northern Hemisphere going into cooler weather. I think this would be a fantastic fragrance for those cooler evenings. For us here coming into summer, this is not one I would wear at summer. Again, I'm wearing it today. Fine for the weather that is outside. It's still kind of coolish with sunshine, but definitely is a beautiful evening fragrance. Fantastic, and it definitely has an animalic touch like all the rest. Last one. All right. This, as I mentioned before, when I had to respray Halong Bay, because this other one is dominating it to the extreme. This is the new release by SORA DORA, Lubu. And this is a monster, but it is unusual at best. And I actually wrote in big lettering, not for the faint-hearted. This is now your veteran, and I would even go as far as saying this is for a 5-star general. You would, because SORA DORA in the white collection up until now have been super appealing. Really, they've sort of fallen, so they're now 5 fragrances deep. This is number 5. The past 4 are just really sweet and lovable. They're unique. I mean, like take Mallow, for instance, such a wild ride with that sherbety, you know, almost you can picture the color purple in smelling that scent profile. But take Johnny, which is such a gorgeous gourmand fragrance, and 7 fantastic fragrance for a man to wear. There's a sharp edge of confidence to that fragrance. So when I sprayed Lubu, I just thought, yeah, we're gonna fall into that lane. If I look at the color of the juice, you know, it has this beautiful amber orange tinge to it, caramelness. This is a monster. So it has a very acrid, a very arresting. It has a very, you're sort of taken aback by this particular opening. Sorry, I just want to make sure that, sharp, and it has this sharpness to it. So to the point where on that first opening, you really think to yourself, what in the world have I just sprayed? So I was with Quentin from the owner of SORA DORA, sprayed it, and I remember him looking intently at my face, like, you know, studying what am I going to do next. And I remember spraying it, and I'm like, not what I was expecting. My brain was thinking, you know, Johnny and Wylop and all these very beautiful, amorous, lovable fragrances, and all of a sudden I'm getting this, like, I can't quite define what I just sprayed. It was during the Italy fragrance tour that we did. There's a gentleman there that was part of the tour. I would classify, and names will remain anonymous, but you know who if you're watching, you know who it is. I would classify this gentleman as a semi-pro, so recent converter into all things niche perfumery. He's definitely migrated out of New Recruit. Now, he sprayed this, and he mentioned to me, and I'm like, how good is this? Because now I'd gotten used to it. I'm like, whoa, this is wild. This is such a cool fragrance. It's artistic and intense and just takes you on such a glorious ride. Anyway, I sprayed it on him, and he was very courteous, because Quentin was with me, and he's like, oh, yeah, it's very different. He told me afterwards, he goes, I had to go into the bathroom and wash it off. He goes, that was intense. What was that? So there's no oud in here, and it's interesting, because the assumption is that, you know, intense, animalic, you know, just in your face kind of fragrances would most likely have some oud nature to it, where in this case here, that's not the situation. The perfumer, which again, she's going against type, is actually Margot. So Margot, up until now, especially for SORA DORA, has done some very lovable, very alluring fragrances. Johnny, Wylop, I'm pretty certain, oh, she did Red. All these fragrances that are just, you know, just beautiful, and you want to draw close. Whereas here, you're like, what in the world? What are we doing here? Lubu is a character that Quentin has always been very much, I guess, in love with as a young man. He was either a Chinese general or a Mongolian, anyway, basically old school, you know, kill everybody kind of guy. Very fierce, and he wanted to demonstrate this bolden nature of this particular individual. It opens with a gunpowder note, and this is the arresting sort of like, what in the world? So it's very sulfur, very camphorous. It's very, it destabilizes you a little bit. You know, like, what am I spraying here? I had Grace also experience the fragrance. She mentioned that she gets a very sharp plastic smell on that opening, and yep, it does have that sort of scent profile to it, a sort of vinyl, you know, sharpness. On card, you're getting a very one-dimensional aspect, and I do get a very, like just there, I got a very sort of vinyl, plasticky, vanilla element to it. On skin, a lot more explosive, a lot more diverse in the way it moves and the way it starts. But one thing is consistent. On opening, you are like, what in the world did I just spray? For me, this is the most artistic expression that SORA DORA has done to date. This is something, it actually excites me because I can see them wanting to open up and push into new boundaries. And so I commend them. Quentin, you're a champion, because it's exciting to try something new and different. It's not going to be for everybody. One thing that I do like about it is it's dried down. This is a fragrance that you do not put your nose to. This is a fragrance you just allow to take flight in the air. As it dries down, it does go into Margot's classic place, and that is she loves to, from what I've observed, loves to play with vanillas. And in this case here, the vanilla has an unusual tinge to it. They've actually highlighted as a black vanilla or something to that effect, so giving you the idea that this is not your classic Madagascan or, you know, sweet, pulpy and inviting. There is something different here. In the air, so I was wearing it in, we were in Milan at the time. This was my fragrance, one of the fragrances that I chose, so my evening fragrance. It was gorgeous. The scent profile of the fragrance is different and unusual, and even to the point where it makes you like, you become inquisitive. What is that? You know, why, my tummy again. What is that smell that I'm smelling? So even here in the air, smelling it as I'm moving around, and I'm covered in fragrances, and this one here is definitely dominating the full conversation when it comes to the scent profile. As I said, I had to respray. I couldn't smell this Halong Bay, even though I know its scent profile and I'm familiar with it. I couldn't smell it, I couldn't distinguish it because of this monster that's on my arm. It's wild. It's a really, and it's one that's super hard to define, to say exactly. So I said here, it's a dirty, woody vanilla. So if you want to capture it quickly, so it has a woody aspect, but it's definitely dirty. There's something unusual. On opening, it is peppery and camphorous. It does go a touch acrid, so you're like, if you put your nose to it, you're like, oh, I don't get what's going on. But then it does go into where I am now, is this warm amber wood, but with a dirtiness to it, unusual. There are notes like blood. There is a blood note, and I think even in the base there is a metallic note. So they've dived straight into the concept of this character, Lubu, and who he would have been. What would he have, you know, after a battle, I guess, you know, this is what this dude would have smelled like, you know, just blood and steel and you know, gunpowder and all that sort of stuff. But it's a really cool fragrance to wear. Unusual, but divine. Boom. Et voila. And we are finished. Good. All right, let me bring things home when it comes to the announcements. Actually, last thing to say, if anybody has experienced these brand new releases, I would love to hear your thoughts. If no one has, go out and test them. I want to hear your thoughts. Go out. If you can get access to Lubu, please tell me what you think of it. You know, how does it perform on you? I'd love to hear people's thoughts on Muscaria. Am I assigning too much sexuality to that particular fragrance? For me, it's hypersexual when it comes to its scent profile. Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on these matters. Now, as I mentioned, the wrap up, when it comes to all things olfactive traveler, we had a lot of interest from the US, and I want to say a massive thank you to our US friends. And just so you know what happened, all right, I have shared this before, but just to explain it again, everything was lined up, ready to go. So we had a third-party distribution network here in Australia that was already sending all of the SOCO fragrances for Kevin's brand across the world, US, no matter where it was. Tariffs were, yeah, they were working through all that, no problems at all. 3 days before us going live, this third party said, we can't do it anymore, or we're not prepared to do it because of some complications, blah, blah, blah. And they pulled the pin on it. That then created a series of dominoes falling, blah, 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 when it comes to all things the US. This is why we've been working very hard behind the scenes to see what's our solution through, and what we're trying to do more importantly is rather than create a band-aid solution which will just temporarily fix, satisfy, like eating when you're super hungry, eating chips, like crisps. I mean, that does nothing for you. So what we're trying to do is really find a long-term solution that's going to now carry us through deeper into next year and beyond, essentially. So we are still in the throes of all this. I was hoping that by now I would have had a firm direction. There are some things that have materialized, but I don't want to get too ahead of myself and say something that I then have to retract. So we're still on the case. We're still working on this, and hopefully we can get an answer soon. In the meantime, though, you can do the following, which I really appreciate. Those people in the US, it's given us some more clarity as to what's happening and I guess the interest level with the brand. You can jump on as long as you're. So I know some people are getting creative and changing the pricing. So make sure that you are on United States or the US pricing. You will then see that all the items are now sold out. They're not sold out. We have stock. What I need you to do, if you are interested in any of the OT fragrances, then go to the Reserve. Is that? And I keep giving it different names. Yeah, Reserve. So reserve your fragrance. Now, I had one person say to me that they're not getting a confirmation email. That's because we're not putting it through the payment system necessarily. So we're not asking for any money. We're just seeing, don't do it for fun, because what we're trying to do is allocate and put stock aside so that we have sufficient, so we don't run out essentially for the US once that goes live. I'm confident we will go live, but I will share more. So if you are interested in the OT fragrances, then you just go ahead and reserve, put that against, and that gives us an account from our end. We can see what's happening. Pelle Viola is definitely the winner. We're going to be sharing more information on Pelle Viola. So there is a really, it's a gorgeous fragrance, but there's such a cool, unique story behind it, especially with Iris Blue and the limited, I guess, access that we have to that particular iris that is being drawn from the farm in Florence. We will be sharing more. I'm hoping to do a video with Luca because I want him to explain in more detail what all this is about. So if you are interested, US friends, please reserve that and away you go. Boom. Now the rest of the world, as we mentioned from the beginning, we are mailing out as of mid-November. We are on schedule, so happy to announce that everything is tracking quite smoothly. So as of mid-November, we will notify you guys in advance, or you'll get an email from us once you know that shipping is moving towards you and the tracking number and all the rest of it. So that is still on the path. All right, last thing. Boom. I was hoping to do a short Maté talk. Is there such a thing, is the question. All right, so here, as you can see, are all the wonderful people. So we did do a live. If you want to know more, Kevin and I did a live together. It actually went for 2 hours. And that wasn't so much just us talking. We invited a number of friends who had access to the OT Traveler set, and they were talking about their experiences with the fragrance. So if you want to watch that, you can see their input and hear their experience with the actual fragrance. So check that out. But one thing that we had, or that I put forward, is if you put your name against the, in the pre-rolling of the live, then you'll go into a draw to win an OT Traveler set. Oh, it was a short spin. All right, good luck. Here we go. These are the people who put their name, and someone's gonna win an OT Traveler set. I'll send it to you regardless where it is. My man. Jason. Congratulations, Jason. You have won the OT Traveler set. I'm actually excited. Jason, awesome man from Leeds. He took the time to come over to in February to Fuea to do a meetup there. Really appreciate the fact that the energy to come across and to meet up and all that sort of stuff. So I'm excited to send something across to you, my friend. Connect with me on Insta and send me your details, and I'll make sure to send that across to you. And that is it. That's me done. Thanks everyone. I hope you enjoyed that. Look forward to your comments on all things of these 5 new fragrances that have been released and see what your thoughts are. And I'll see you guys all on the next Maté Talk. Bye.